Time 4, Timeforce. Hello everyone, this is my Power Rangers Timeforce review. This is my 9th Power Ranger review. So, I'm on Wild Force now, that'll be uploaded when I'm done. So, Timeforce kicks off the episode A Force from the Future, which is a 2-part premiere, in which we see a Red Ranger is bringing in Ranzik, our villain for the season. And Ranzik is sentenced to be cryogenically frozen for a while, but he escapes because his daughter Nadira helps him break the thing that is taking him to jail. Ranzik ends up killing that Red Ranger, who is Alex, or at least presuming that he's been killed. So Alex asks his fiancée Jen Scott to travel back to the year 2001 to bring Ranzik to justice. Jen takes with her 3 other Timeforce officers: Lucas Kendall, Katie Walker, and Trip, who's an alien who can see certain things with a jewel in his teeth. They're assisted by a robotic owl named Circuit. So, yeah. Upon getting in 2001, they find out that the chronomorphers that they have don't work because they need the red one to work, so they have to find someone with Alex's DNA. Enter Wes Collins, who they let be one to make the morphers work, so Wes becomes red, Jen becomes pink, Lucas blue, Katie yellow, and Trip green. Jen doesn't want Alex West, though, to be the Red Ranger because, well, he's a tad bit, she thinks he's a tad bit selfish because of his background being a spoiled rich kid. But West proves himself, and West becomes the permanent Red Ranger. A very good premiere. In fact, episode-wise, there's very good episodes in Timeforce. There's not a really bad one in the entire bunch. So, well, except for Movie Madness, only because it doesn't make any logical sense. But, so, quarter way through the season, we're introduced. We find out that there's been a special thing called the Quantum Morpher, which has ended up in a construction site. And the Silver Guardians, which were introduced, which are run by Wes's father, Albert Collins, are looking for it, the Rangers looking for it, and Ranzik's looking for it to harness the power of the Quantum Ranger. So the Quantum Ranger Morpher ends up in the hands of Eric Myers, and he uses it and becomes the Quantum Ranger, and with it controls the Quantosaurus Rex, which is hidden back in time. And that makes Eric the leader of the Silver Guardians. So, at first, Eric's not the best Ranger because he's kind of a douche for a little bit. But that's the way things go. So, Eric eventually does get with it. We have some more episodes, but then we get Time for Lightspeed, which is, of course, the season's team up with Lightspeed Rescue Team of Timeforce. This is better than the Lightspeed Lost Galaxy team up, because at least the Lightspeed Rangers are in it more than the Lost Galaxy Rangers are in their respective thing. Should have been 2 parts though. So, and this has the full team, unlike the Lost Galaxy Lightspeed Rescue Team up, which didn't have the full team because Ryan was off doing his own thing due to lack of type footage because the Titanium Ranger is the first American-made Ranger. And, of course, Mike had lost the Magna Fender power. So this is the first 12 Ranger team-up that we had. Because even Lost Galaxy and Space didn't have the full Space team, so. And they're defeating Vipra, who wants some crystal to bring back a demon. And they're both defeated in a very anticlimactic way. So, season comes to a close with the End of Time, which is a 3-part episode in which we find out through Alex that the Rangers' effort in 2001 is changing time, is changing the future, and that Jen, Trip, Lucas, and Katie have to go back to the year 3000. So, but they don't go. Wes forces them to go back, and they have to undergo some kind of weird mind erasing that they end up deciding not to go through. So, and they go back to the year 2001, and they help Wes eventually stop Rancic, who turns himself in. So, as a whole, as I said, that's the season synopsis. Fairly good season. There's not any real problems that I have ever found with it. So, Ranger notes, Wes was a good Red Ranger. Not the best, but he wasn't, you know, bad. Because he ended up with the most development in the season, because he had to prove that he wasn't just a spoiled rich kid. Jin's the best Pink Ranger probably in the history of Power Rangers in terms of development and the fact well written. In fact, she's probably the leader of the Timeforce Rangers more than Wes is. So, yeah. And Jin's best episode is Jin's Revenge, in which she toys with the idea of actually destroying a monster to avenge Alex's death. Or what she thought was Alex's death. Because we did find out in the season Alex did survive and all this. So, yeah. Lucas is really the weakest one of these people, because he's basically just a pretty boy who worries more about his hair, looking in a mirror, and racing cars. His best episode as a character is Bodyguard in Blue, so it shows that there is more than a one-dimensional character there. So that was all good. Katie's the strongest Yellow Ranger we've had. She didn't fall into what the Yellow Ranger traditionally is, which is the best friend of the Pink Ranger. They worked it a bit different. She had a couple good episodes, including where she worried about what this was doing to her family in year 3000, her being here. Trip, very good Ranger. Well, he started out questioning himself, but he turned into a very good Ranger. And his best episode is Trip takes a stand where he stands up to Eric and Rancic, because Eric wants to destroy a mutant, even though he's non-violent. And that whole episode deals with prejudice that PR doesn't really deal with much, so it's kind of nice. Eric, our sixth Ranger, for pretty much the entire season, was a annoying douchebag. Not as big as a douchebag as Alex was, but he was more using the Ranger power. He started out primarily just using one Ranger power to succeed in his own goals, which isn't what a Ranger is about. So, he had the skills to be a Ranger, but he had to know how to use them, which he didn't know. So, Alex, though, is the biggest douche in this season, because when he shows up, it's primarily out of jealousy. And he starts ordering the team around like they're soldiers or something, when he doesn't realize that they were strongest with Wes, which he eventually does realize, including saving Mr. Collins from dying. So, Mr. Collins started out basically greedy. He started out greedy and had no real goals other than making money. Up until he realized that Wes was a Ranger, he started to have a character change, but I guess you could say Circuit served as the mentor figure, as he was the link between the year 3000 and the Rangers. But he wasn't necessarily the best mentor figure. His best episode, though, was Circuit Unsure, which, thanks to Alex erasing a memory, he starts thinking he's useless and gives himself doubt. So, that episode, by the way, is dedicated to the memory of Tree Trang, who was Trini, the original Yellow Ranger, so that was nice. Rancic was an okay villain with a very sympathetic backstory, but sometimes because you have a sympathetic backstory, doesn't make you a sympathetic character. Frax is more the sympathetic villain here, because he showed kindness to Rancic, and Rancic decided to basically destroy his lab, which turned Frax from a human named Dr. Ferrix into a robot who didn't like humanity. So Frax is the more sympathetic of these villains here. Nadira did undergo a character change, but it was way too late in the season for it to really matter. It was right at the end. But, so, the Cyclobots, not the best foot soldiers. They are better than the putties, because at least they're a tad bit smarter than the average foot soldiers, but not that great. The theme song of Timeforce is one of the best Power Ranger theme songs I've ever heard. And after watching this whole thing, I've realized that I understand why Timeforce is liked so much, because it's really a good season. In fact, it's my favorite season now. It's my favorite season, surpassing MMPR season and passing all of MMPR. So, and it is better than Lightspeed Rescue, because Lightspeed Rescue fell into corny filler, but very good story-driven episodes. Whereas everything of Timeforce, even its filler episodes, are really good, and it doesn't really have a bad episode other than the two-part movie Madness. That's because it made no sense to the overall why it existed. And the Timeforce Megazord and the Time Shadow are very good, so is the Q-Rex. So, all in all, like I said, Timeforce is the timeless wonder that people make it out to be. So, next video when I get done with it and have the review written will be, we are going to answer the Call of the Wild of Wild Force. So, see you then.